Let's just picture this for a second. Imagine a really critical public service, right? Something designed to keep a whole city safe, like, say, its flood defenses. Now, imagine that safeguard isn't just failing because of bad weather or something. Imagine it's being deliberately, systematically undermined through really elaborate deception. What if the money, the actual funds meant to protect millions of people, were just being siphoned off, leaving everyone vulnerable? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into a major civic fraud that's, frankly, rocked Mumbai. It's the Mithi River desilting scam. We've got a fascinating set of sources here detailing how this absolutely critical environmental project vital for Mumbai's monsoon resilience became the target of a huge 65 crore fraud. So our mission today is to unpack this pretty complex web, understand how it worked, the mechanics of it, and look at the implications for the city, for infrastructure, and maybe most importantly, for public trust. Okay, so let's unpack this. The core revelation here is pretty shocking. The Mumbai Police's economic offenses wing the EOW, right? Their specialist financial crime unit. They've arrested a 49-year-old contractor. His name is Sher Singh Rathod, and it's in connection with this major 65 crore rupee desilting fraud, all linked to the Mithi River. Now, 65 crore, that's obviously a massive number, but what makes this case really stand out? Is it just the amount?
That's a really good point because, yeah, 65 crore for one contract is staggering. But what's truly striking here, I think, are the layers of deception involved. It wasn't just, fudging some numbers. We're apparently looking at physical deception, like what was actually in the trucks. Then there's digital manipulation, messing with monitoring systems. And then this whole intricate paper trail of fake documents, all designed to look legitimate. It just screams a massive breach of public funds and trust. And that's why the EOW's involvement is so key. They're built to unravel these complex, multifaceted financial crimes, the kind that often involve networks and pretty sophisticated methods.
Right, so it's the complexity as much as the scale. And this contractor, Rathod, the sources say he owns a company called Main Deep Enterprises, lives out in Borivali West, and he specifically got the Mithi River desilting contract for the 2021-22 period. The sources are quite clear. This whole scam caused huge losses for the BMC, the Berhad Mumbai Municipal Corporation, which is, a massive hit to public money and the city's ability to function safely. Now, desilting, it sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? You dig out the silt, you haul it away. Simple. But the core fraud here, as our sources detail it, involved a really shocking switch. What exactly was that deceptive act, and why was it so incredibly dangerous for Mumbai?
Well, it was completely counterproductive. You could almost call it sabotage, really, instead of actually removing the silt from Mithi River, which you have to remember is like the city's main natural drain, absolutely vital during the monsoon. Rathod allegedly just filled the trucks with construction debris.
Debris, not silt.
It's exactly debris. And imagine that. You're supposed to be clearing a blockage, but instead, you're potentially making it worse. See, when the Mithi gets choked with silt, its water-carrying capacity just plummets. That makes Mumbai incredibly vulnerable to severe floods, especially in low-lying areas. We see it year after year. So instead of helping fix that critical flood risk, filling it with construction debris, that would only make the problem worse. It basically creates an even bigger hazard, undermining the city's ability to handle heavy rain.
And it wasn't just about what was physically in the trucks. The sources talk about a pretty sophisticated digital side to this deception, too. Rathod reportedly uploaded misleading photos to the BMC's own work monitoring software to get paid. And this wasn't just once or twice. He allegedly passed off this debris as river silt something like 67 times. 67 times. Which let him wrongfully claim nearly 29 crore just from that part of the scam. How does that even happen? How can a monitoring system meant for oversight be fooled like that?
Yeah, the sheer boldness of faking evidence inside a digital system is really something. The systems are put there for oversight, right? To give transparency, ensure accountability. But what the sources suggest is he wasn't just uploading random photos. He allegedly used old pictures from actual legitimate work done previously, or maybe even photos from completely different sites, to basically create a fake visual record of progress in the BMC software.
So he was gaming the system.
Precisely, creating a fake reality to trigger payments. It shows a pretty deep, cynical understanding of how the system works, and, frankly, a calculated willingness to exploit its weaknesses for huge personal gain, all while risking public safety and wasting public money.
So you've got the physical switcheroo, the digital trickery, and then the paperwork. Utterly fabricated. But the conspiracy, our sources say, went even wider. It pulled in other people. This is where we hear about these businessmen, Jay Joshi and Ketan Kadam. They weren't just suppliers, apparently. They allegedly played a key role in rigging the whole system. But just before we get to them, The paper trail also involved Rathod submitting 3 fake memorandums of understanding MoUs, right, for land supposedly used to dump the debris. Documents meant to prove legitimate disposal.
And the details on those fake MeUs are quite chilling. They really highlight how deep this deception went.
Yeah.
2 landowners, whose land was supposedly used, flat out denied ever signing any such document.
Okay, so that's bad enough.
But it gets worse. The third MoU involved a man named Bhaskar Tari. His signature was on it. The problem: Mr. Tari had actually died months before his signature magically appeared on this document.
Wow, using a dead man's signature, that's almost unbelievable.
It really does. It feels like something out of a movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just shows these weren't small mistakes. They were highly calculated moves, crossing major ethical, legal lines. It suggests, either desperation or just extreme confidence they wouldn't get caught. It points to a really intricate operation, planned out, not just some sloppy oversight.
And the web just keeps getting wider. The scam also involved Rathod signing these dubious MoUs with those 2 businessmen we mentioned earlier, Jay Joshi and Ketan Kadam. Now, on paper, they were supposed to supply specialized machinery for silt removal, but it seems it wasn't really just about supplying machines.
Exactly. Joshi and Kadam are accused of manipulating the tender conditions. That means they allegedly tailored the requirements for the desilting machinery so specifically that basically only their company, Matprop Services, which makes things like silt pushers and amphibious machines, could actually meet the specs.
Rigging the bid, essentially.
That's the accusation. Maybe even getting early looks at competitors' bids, all to create a monopoly for their firm. This isn't just about selling equipment anymore. It's about controlling the whole market, shutting out competition, making sure the money flows where they want it to, and tender manipulation in public contracts.
Yep.
The effects are really serious. It drives up costs, it can compromise the quality because you lose real competition, and it just diverts taxpayer money. It completely undermines the whole point of competitive bidding, which is supposed to protect public funds and get the best value.
What's really disturbing, though, is the timescale here. According to the EOW, this wasn't just a one-year thing, not an isolated lapse. This desilting fraud apparently went on for a whole decade, from 2013 to 2023.
A decade.
Yeah, a decade. And if we sort of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, a fraud lasting that long, it strongly suggests this wasn't just a few rogue contractors. It points towards a systematic effort. Contractors, yes, but also, as the EOW puts it, select officials, working together over time to consistently divert funds meant for cleaning the Mithi. So potentially corruption embedded within the system itself.
It suggests an entrenched system, yeah. It reveals specific weak points, vulnerabilities that allowed this to keep happening for so long. We need to ask, what specific gaps in oversight were exploited again and again? What does that tell us about how these big civic projects are managed? And the impact? Well, it's long-term, serious damage to Mumbai's flood defenses, to public safety. Think about it. 10 years of potentially inadequate desilting. That's 10 years where Mumbai's flood risk was quietly getting worse while public money was vanishing. It shows how corruption can have really dangerous, real-world consequences for ordinary people.
It's just astonishing to think it persisted for that long. Now, just to cover all angles, the legal side. It's worth mentioning Rathod's lawyer has claimed these charges are politically motivated. The claim is Rathod was targeted for siding with a rival political party. That's the defense argument, part of the ongoing legal picture. The investigation itself, though, seems pretty thorough. The EOW formally registered the case back on May 6, 2025, but that was after a long inquiry. It sounds like this is still unfolding. And the sources really highlight how deep this probe is going. It's even reaching into, well, unexpected areas, like mentioning the actor Dino Morea.
Yes, the way the probe is expanded is quite significant. It's led to questioning, as the source says, several high-profile figures. And when you see names like actor Dino Morea and his brother Santino being questioned, it's because of alleged links to 2 middlemen already arrested in this case.
Middlemen, fixers.
Potentially. It suggests the network might be much wider than just the contractors and maybe some officials. It hints at an ecosystem where, social connections, influence. These things might be used to help set up or hide these schemes. It's not always just about the money changing hands directly. Sometimes it's about building a web of trust, favors, access that makes these frauds incredibly hard to untangle. It really underlines that corruption isn't always hidden away. It can sometimes touch various public-facing sectors, different levels of society. And it shows the huge challenge for authorities trying to unravel these complex networks where influence might play a big role.
So let's try and pull this together. What does this all mean for you listening? We've seen these intricate layers of the Mithi River fraud. You've got the basic physical swap critical silt replaced with useless debris, then the fabricated documents, even using a dead man's signature, unbelievable. Add to that the sophisticated digital deception, creating fake visual records to get paid. And we've learned this wasn't just a one-off. It was potentially a decade of systemic collusion, going beyond just Rathods, bringing in accusations of tender rigging, and now even these high-profile connections being investigated. This deep dive hasn't just shown us a single fraud. It feels more like a blueprint for how corruption can potentially embed itself over years, exploiting specific cracks in the system.
Absolutely. And it just hammers home how vital, robust, and maybe smarter oversight is for these big public works projects. The impact of this kind of corruption, it's severe on community safety, on the infrastructure meant to protect people, and definitely on public trust in the institutions that are supposed to serve them. It's profound. When money meant for something as basic and vital as flood prevention is systematically stolen, it's not just a financial loss on paper. It genuinely puts lives at risk. It chips away at the foundation of civic confidence. It's a stark reminder, really. Transparency, accountability, and maybe focusing on those specific gaps that allow this to happen. That's probably our best defense against this kind of exploitation.
Couldn't agree more. And when you see vital projects, ones literally meant to protect communities, becoming targets for schemes this elaborate, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Beyond the arrests, beyond the court cases, what fundamental changes actually need to happen? How do we truly safeguard public money and make sure essential infrastructure is built on, well, integrity, not deception? It's a big question, one we should probably all be thinking about because it really goes to the heart of how our cities work and how much our safety is truly prioritized.